Today, we're going to continue our theme on water that we began a couple of weeks ago when I discussed molecular hydrogen or hydrogen water and also made a video on alkaline water. Today, by popular demand, we're going to address chlorine and the potential toxic effects of chlorine for swimmers, but also for anyone using household cleaning products or people who may work in wastewater treatment plants or as lifeguards or just um, coaches, anyone who's exposed to chlorinated water. And basically, that's everybody because municipal water is often chlorinated. And so, chlorine can be toxic, and we'll go into it further in a little bit. But chlorine has been shown to damage the airways because chlorine gas, when you're swimming in chlorine water, you're inhaling chlorine gas, you are absorbing chlorine through your skin, and what is more damaged than the chlorine, excuse me, what is more toxic than the chlorine itself is the secondary products that are produced when chlorine interacts with the oils in your skin or with your lung alveoli. This is relevant to me because I have multiple kids who swim competitively and they're swimming year round. And so their exposure, being able to limit their exposure is important. And before my kids even started swimming, when we moved into our house, I remember in the early days, I would take a shower or grab some water out of the sink and I could smell the chlorine. And so it was highly chlorinated water because of our municipality. And so I bought a whole house water filter, which is one of the strategies to help minimize the toxic effects of chlorine. I bought a whole house water filter from lifesourcewater.com. Highly recommend them. Best thing I've ever done for my house. And within 5 minutes after it was installed, I took a shower and haven't smelled chlorine ever since, unless I turn the filter off to water the grass or something and forget to turn it back on and go in the shower. Then I'll smell it because now the filter's now on and filtering the chlorine out of my water. So you want to get a whole house water filtration system that can remove chlorine, remove pharmaceuticals, remove microbes, remove all kinds of toxins that you are drinking all day, every day. It's a major move you can make to improve your health and reduce your long-term exposure. Um, so let's dive in. How can we minimize risk for everybody, but especially swimmers who are exposed day in and day out? One thing I want you to know is you can go on the National Library of Medicine and you can download this book for free or read it for free online, The Toxicological Profile for Chlorine. You can go to this website here, and this book will come up, and we'll jump over to this in a bit. And then the strategies that I'm going to explain for swimmers um, come from Coach Slava here. And I don't know Coach Slava, but he's got a website, coachslava.com. You can check it out. He was a professional swimmer and now is a professional swimming coach. And he has multiple strategies that are easy to implement to protect yourself and protect your swimmers. But first, let's jump over to an article by Dr. Mercola that distills this toxicological profile page down into layman's terms. So here we are looking at a recent article from Dr. Mercola on the long-term impact of chlorine. And this is very timely and important for us to know. So first of all, where are we exposed? Obviously, we're exposed by pools, we're exposed by tap water, we're exposed by cleaning products. So chlorine bleach, right? That's what you're cleaning your counters with or your toilets with. Um, in COVID, obviously, Clorox marketed that they could kill 99% of COVID. So everyone's using chlorine. The problem with that is even if you're not swimming, if you're using the cleaning products, if you can smell chlorine at all, then there's too much in the air, and that is a level that could potentially damage you. And the most common areas that are impacted are your skin, your lungs, and your eyes. And it's an accumulative effect. All of us have probably swam in the past and had our eyes irritated by chlorine or turned red and maybe, watered just even saying that, mine began to feel like I'm in chlorinated water because when I was a kid, I didn't wear goggles. I just swam around with my eyes open under the pool water all the time. And so the reason the eyes kind of get irritated and red is because the chlorine basically burns off the lubricating layer over the eye and allows for more irritation there. If you've ever swam in an indoor pool where you can smell a lot of chlorine and you've had a cough, or you just feel like you can't take as deep a breath as usual, that's because you may have been having some adverse, respiratory dysfunction due to the level of chlorine in the air. Chlorine in certain people, if it's creating enough lung damage, can promote an asthmatic type impact. And then chlorine is going to break down the lipid layers of our skin and hair and dry out our hair, dry out our skin. If you have blonde hair and you've ever swam in a highly chlorinated pool and your hair turned green, that's what was happening is the chlorine was interacting with copper in your hair and turning your hair green. So the level of the effects range from those kind of lower level type effects all the way to potentially increasing your risk of cancer if you are someone that's constantly working with chlorine, especially municipality workers, water treatment plants, people working with chlorine directly as opposed to swimming in it. One thing that you want to know, again, is your drinking water, the shower steam, pool systems, cleaning products are the major common exposures. Again, shower steam is now the water's being aerosolized. So not only are you bathing in it, but you're inhaling the aerosolized chlorine, which again can be highly irritable to the lungs. If you've ever washed your bathroom or your kitchen sink and you had a sore throat after, you know, uh, or after you were swimming, you were itchy and you called it the pool chemicals, you're right, but that's not necessarily a minor issue. Again, especially with the cleaning products and inhaling it, damaging the alveoli in your lungs, that can promote respiratory distress and asthmatic type symptoms. Chlorine doesn't stay stable in the water. It reacts with our sweat, with our skin, with urine in the water, whatever's in the water, and again makes toxic byproducts like chloramines and trihalomethanes, which our body absorbs and inhales while we're swimming. So again, that can increase asthma risk. And as we said, that telltale chlorine smell is actually a warning sign that the chloramines are too high in the indoor pool. So you want to ventilate that place or get out of there and swim in an outdoor pool or find a different place to swim. Talked about how it can irritate eyes and eyes and hair. As far as eyes go, one study found that swimming for 15 minutes increases risk of eye irritation up to 2.8 times. If the chlorine levels are over zero point 0.4 parts per million, which falls under legally accepted levels for the pool, your risk jumps to 4.6. So almost double. So again, the eye irritation is from the chlorine stripping away the protective tear film on your eyes and can lead to that redness, burning, and blurriness. Chlorine, I mentioned, impacts the skin, can drive itchiness or flare eczema, and you can even get what's called pool-related dermatitis from the chlorine. Again, blonde hair is especially vulnerable. That can turn green. And then chlorine will react with sunscreen. So if you're using, uh, you know, standard sunscreens with toxins in them, like avobenzone, the chlorine can react with that and create secondary byproducts like chlorinated phenols and acetylbenzene compounds. And those can disrupt hormones, so endocrine disruption. So now maybe sex hormones can be thrown off and it can damage the liver as well. At a cellular level, again, chlorine is classified as highly reactive and corrosive gas that damages tissue on contact. So that classification is coming from that toxicological profile that I showed you earlier from the National Institute, the National Library of Medicine. For people working in water treatment, public sanitation, pool maintenance, chemical manufacturing, the risk is especially dangerous because again, they're inhaling higher levels of it directly and maybe getting it directly on their skin, whereas if you're swimming or bathing in it, it's somewhat diluted. Other people high at high risk: hospital janitors, gym staff, university maintenance crews, sewage or water treatment. Unlike people who choose to swim, these workers often handle it directly, as I just said. They clean with it or breathe it in from treated surfaces and air systems without adequate protection. Long-term exposure, even in small doses, is tied to chronic breathing problems, skin damage, and cancer risk. So again, we want to mitigate our exposure. People exposed to chlorine consistently show hypersensitivity airway responses, meaning their lungs overreact even to small irritants like dust or cold air. This creates a vicious cycle of inflammation and can mimic asthma. Many people clean their homes with bleach-based products in closed spaces like bathrooms and kitchens. Without fans or open windows, that gas accumulates, and breathing it in can contribute to the same types of damage seen in workers in chemical heavy industries. So again, when you're cleaning your home, you want to open the window, turn on the fan, disperse that chlorine smell. You want to get that bleach smell out of there as soon as possible, and or dilute your cleaner and how much you're using. So let's jump over to Coach Slava's page to see the recommendations he makes for helping your swimmers. All right, here we are on coachslava.com and his blog post about how to protect your skin. And as we know, swimming is fun and healthy, but if we're overexposed, we can have symptoms. And so, again, as a review, why can chlorine damage the skin? Well, it disrupts the skin's pH balance. It removes essential oils and moisture from our skin, causing dryness, itching, or flaking. It can irritate conditions like eczema and lead to premature aging or uneven skin tone with long-term exposure. So, what do we do to protect ourselves? Very simple strategy. With some of them we've heard our whole lives, but we may or may not do. All right, so every public pool you go to says rinse off before swimming. I believe they're probably posting that for sanitary reasons. Obviously, they don't want dirty people coming in and making their pool dirtier. Uh, but the protective reason for rinsing off before you swim is to add a clean water layer to your skin to hydrate your skin and hair, which if it's hydrated, it's going to absorb less chlorinated water. So rinsing off with clean water, hopefully, doing it at your house before you go to the pool with your whole house filtrated water versus going to the pool and rinsing off with their chlorinated municipal water, that's kind of defeating the purpose. So rinse off with clean, non-chlorinated water before swimming. Applying a pre-swim barrier. So this is adding oil to your skin to kind of block the absorption of water while you're swimming. So this can be things like coconut oil, olive oil, jojoba oil, um, lanolin, pure lanolin is one you can use. And so again, these can lock in moisture and prevent chlorine absorption, giving you a protective barrier. So coconut oil is one that's really easy to do. Wear protective swimwear, long sleeve swim shirt, rash guards, things like that. That's that's something that's easy to do, but also blocking your vitamin D. So my bias would be to get your vitamin D, throw the oil on and keep the long sleeve swimwear off so you can get the vitamin D at the same time. Keep swim sessions short when possible. The longer you stay in the pool, the more chlorine you're exposed to. Try to take breaks in between. And on your breaks, if you have a water source that's not chlorinated, rinse off when you get out. When you're done for sure, rinse off as soon as possible after swimming with non-chlorinated water. So shooting home and hopping in your whole house water filtered shower to wash off the chlorine. Or if you have a whole house water filtration system, like mine, everything's filtered. So you can even use the hose spigot. You don't even have to go into the shower. After that, use a gentle hydrating cleanser and moisturize after you shower. And so you can use things like shea butter, glycerin, hyaluronic acid, aloe vera, coconut oil, things like that to hydrate. And then you want to stay hydrated internally as well. So drinking enough water is important for all kinds of health purposes. And a basic, very basic goal to shoot for each day would be half your body weight in ounces to start with. And then, being smart in terms of if you are someone with eczema or psoriasis or some sort of skin condition that is in a flare, uh, not exposing yourself to the chlorine is probably a good idea during that time. And so thank you, Coach Slava, for putting that post together. And then one last thing I want to show you is a video I made. So let's jump over there. And here's a video I made on my YouTube channel a couple of years ago, walking you through my water filtration system that I used and why it's important in helping you prevent chronic disease. And relevant to this video, it's important because it filters out chlorine, as I said at the start. Never have smelled it in my shower ever again after it was installed. And so that company is lifesourcewater.com. Best thing I ever did for my home. Highly recommend them. So if you're someone who is alive on planet Earth, chlorine exposure is something that you need to be aware of. And the best ways to protect ourselves is to have filtered water that does not contain chlorine. And that's probably the most important thing to do because we all drink water all day, every day. We can't live without it. So having a clean water source to drink is probably number one. And then number two would be if you're swimming a lot, especially, competitive swimmer, swim for school or whatever you're doing, implementing Coach Slava's strategies, applying, rinsing off before, then applying a protective oil barrier, rinsing off right after you swim, and then applying hydrating oils. Be aware that if you notice symptoms when you're swimming, eye redness, skin irritation, difficulty breathing, or if you're noticing that when you're at an indoor pool watching an event and not even swimming, then you need to get outside or, ventilate that area somehow if possible to minimize the inputs. Other things we can do. If chlorine is impacting our lungs, right? Chlorine is impacting our lungs. Well, lung damage, that will be inflammation, oxidative stress. Well, one of the best antioxidants for lung health is glutathione. So asthmatics have been shown to have lower glutathione levels in their lung fluids than people without asthma. So one way to help with lung irritation and lung health is to take glutathione, and that will help protect your lungs. Skin irritation, again, the coconut oil is a great idea. The eyes, lubricating eye drops, wearing goggles, getting out when you start to notice irritation. So thank you for watching this video, and please share it, as I'm sure you know someone who is exposed to chlorine on a daily basis.